What's up everybody, Kier Gomes here and welcome back. I've been getting asked a lot about doing tutorials on this channel. Just so you guys know, I do a tutorial like every single month at least, but I think what everybody's getting at is that they would like to see more frequent tutorials on this channel. So I'm a man of the people. What kind of person would I be if I ignored those requests? In today's episode, we are going to be learning a very simple yet knacky kind of one-phase ambitious card trick. It's something that I didn't invent any of the moves, but I think in this sequence of movement, I think is fairly original, and it's something that is great for somebody who's learning magic or somebody who knows the basics of magic and is looking for a really cool routine with some cool pattern that they can use to really blow somebody's mind quick. As with most of my tutorials, I'm not only going to be teaching you the moves that you need to know, I'm also going to be going into things like performance tips and pattern. Won't go too much into theory this time. I know that usually in my tutorials there's some kind of rant. I'm going to try not to do that, but ultimately you can probably tell from the trailer, it's just a really cool little magic effect, and if you put these pieces together specifically, everything down to the way you do your double lift and all that stuff, I think you're really going to get something out of this that you can kind of adapt to your own routine. Before we get started, please do drop a like on this video and subscribe if you haven't already. And without further ado, let's roll that intro and get you guys on your way.
Let's go.
All right, so basically the way that this tutorial is gonna go, I'm gonna be teaching you guys 3 sleights that go into this trick. I'm not gonna be covering other variations of it because there's a million different ways you could kind of combine different sleights to do the same ambitious card effect, but this is one that to me is a good way to kind of break the ice, show off some skill, but also create a fun and kind of extremely visual trick. It's everything from the way that you move your hands to the way that you put the card in the middle of the deck to the way it comes back to the top. It's visual through and through. All right, so there's, I think, the only rant that I have. Let's get into the tutorial. All right, so for this tutorial, I will be using the tally hose. All right, so just a real quick overview. I know you can see the performance in the trailer, but just so you get a feel for what this looks like. Essentially, it's a one-phase ambitious card. It consists of the strike double with the Silver Surfer move. And then, of course, dressed up with some patter, it utilizes the top shot. So that's what we're going to be learning today. I'm going to be teaching you all 3 of those moves and then going over some performance tips and what you can do when you're putting this routine together for yourself. The strike double. All right, so the strike double lift is, it's my preferred method for all double lifts for the most part. I like it because it looks the most natural, but also it's a very fluid looking double lift, and every single move that you're going to use in this routine is meant to look relatively fluid. So if you're not familiar, the strike double lift is basically just a variation of the push off double lift, and it looks like that. That was actually a double. So essentially, once you get comfortable, it's going to look a lot like that. And that's something that you just want to get comfortable turning over cards in that movement. It's one of those moves that I really think once you've mastered it, it looks completely natural, and it's hard to tell the difference between whether you're taking 1 card or 2 cards, or in some cases even 3 cards. All right, so to practice the strike double, it's a 2-handed motion because you want the movements to really go together for this double lift. So you'll notice that what I just did was I pushed over like this and I grabbed like that kind of at the same time, and that really helps sell the illusion of the double. And I think as well, it also keeps things moving and doesn't draw a lot of attention to the fact that you're performing a dirty move. So essentially all I'm doing is I'm pushing over the card so that I have this nice diagonal line, and that's gonna allow the pad of this finger to lift up 2 cards as one and turn them over. Now, a good place to start if you're not familiar at all with the double lift, if you're a beginner and you don't have a preferred method, a good place to start is just get comfortable turning over 1 card like that. Because that's essentially the same look that we're trying to duplicate with our double. And if you can make it look natural like that, you're in good shape. So again, you just push over till you have this diagonal line, and then use the pad of your finger like that to grab 2 cards, turn them over as one, okay? A little subtlety that I like to use for this is the way that you hold it afterwards. Too many times I see magicians doing double lifts where they pinch with this finger, they turn it over, they're holding it weird, and then they turn it over like that. That's a very obvious move, and I think it gets more obvious as time goes on. So something to really help sell the double as an illusion is to do not a flourish, but just a little bit of free hand movement. So after I get my double, what I'll do is turn it over and I'll leave a little bit of space here at the bottom. And the reason that I do that is because I can then use my left first finger or index finger to apply a little bit of pressure and jog the cards up, so I can just get in there and hold the card like this. If I'm holding two cards like this, it's very, very easy for me to freely move my hand without the cards splitting, okay? And that's what you want. So after you've gotten comfortable doing this, which was a double, then you want to get comfortable doing some free hand movement. And this could look something like, okay, so this is your card, try to remember this card. Okay, you don't have to draw attention to it, but what you want to do is leave it so that subconsciously your spectator sees that you're only holding one card. Okay, it's not something that you want to draw direct attention to because at that point, you don't want the heat to be on your hand. So you might make some eye contact, but just kind of freely wave the card around, and that will help sell the illusion that you're actually holding one card when really it's two. Okay, and that is the strike double. All right, now the big thing with the strike double, and I want you guys to remember that I said this. This is something that does require a little bit of practice, and I would also recommend not using a brand new deck at first. Use something like I was using these cards. These are worn in, they're a little bit more clumpy, and I think that at first for that type of double that relies on speed and accuracy all at the same time, that's something that, as I mess it up, that's something that is a lot easier if you have a deck of cards that's a little bit more worn. So keep that in mind. The Silver Surfer. All right, now, after you've done your strike double and you've inserted some free hand motion and you turn it over, now you're ready to do the Silver Surfer Flourish, which on its own is really cool, but as a good way to get a card into the middle of the deck, it looks really, really nice, okay? So essentially what it is it's taking the top card, which if you've done a double, this will not be the spectator's card, but it'll look like it is, spreading the cards and then letting it freely float somewhere into the middle of the deck. The reason why I like doing this as a flourish is because it's so fair, because my thumb is really only touching the card for a second before I let go, and for a second at the end when I close it into the pack. It looks so fair. Anything else, like, if you do like the Marlowe tilt, it can look sketchy from certain angles, but what you really want to do to help sell that illusion is just give the spread, angle up just a little bit, drop it, and try to keep your hands off of it as much as possible. For this, the only prerequisite really is being able to spread the cards a fair amount. I know a lot of, when you're starting at Magic, your spread might look like this, and that's okay. It's gonna take some time to really get it to be a longer spread. But once you've got that, that's really the only prerequisite. Then all you need to know is, again, we've got our double, Jack of Spades. Now all you need to do is just push up the top card, leave about a ½ inch to an inch of space. Okay, and then you want to take the pad of your thumb on your right hand if you're right-handed, left if you're left, straddle it between the card and the rest of the deck, and then just do a regular spread as best as you can. Angle your left wrist down and your right wrist up, so you're not flat like that, because if you're flat, obviously the card won't go anywhere. But you want to angle it just a little bit, so that way you can drop the card and it's just gonna skate right down to the middle. Now, a really good tip for this is when you're doing the Silver Surfer, obviously the top card is not the actual spectator's card, so try to keep it low enough to where you're not flashing from the front. If you go up too high like that, your spectator will definitely be able to see the card and they'll know that it's not there. So you really wanna make sure that while you do have to be slightly at an angle, that you're either angling your body accordingly, or you're making some eye contact, that could draw the eye, or you're just not being obvious and showing off the card as it slides down. Okay, so try to keep the card low, but still have that angle so it can skate down. Now this will take some practice for you guys that have never done this before, and it's a simple move, but once you let go, the card really does all the work. The key is to make sure that your wrists are angled to where you're able to catch it. If you go too far down, the card's gonna shoot out, it's gonna be moving too fast, and if you don't go far enough, the card's just gonna kind of fall awkwardly. So it's really just getting that proper wrist placement to make it a fluid transition. That was really bad, here we go. There you go. So it's really just being able to do that, and I would recommend keeping your right hand, I would say maybe 4 inches above your left hand, That seems to be, for me, the magic number. I have giant hands, so it's a little bit easier for me to catch the card. I just kind of let it fall into my thumb, but I would practice it maybe at about 4 inches difference, okay? And that is the Silver Surfer. Oh, the Silver Surfer. That's just a fun move. Like, you can do that in even like a cardistry video with some more flair, and of course people way more skilled than me. But that's just a fun flourish. It's a fun way to, it's more fun, I think, than just taking a card and riffling and putting it in the middle. Although there's nothing wrong with that. I think this kind of little move works really well for spectators. It looks cool. And then as well, if you're just doing magic on like your Instagram, you want to do something visual that looks a bit different, that is a really good one to do. The top shot. All right, so the top shot is really just a cool and fast card production technique. You can use it for multiple cards, or you can use it for just one card. After we've done our strike double and we've given them their card, we say, sir or ma'am, remember this card. This is gonna be your card. I'm gonna slide it into the middle, leave it there. And then whenever you've done some patter, you've misdirected your spectator, whatever the case is, and you're ready to produce the card, that's when you go into the top shot, okay? The top shot's one of those moves that takes practice because for me anyway, if I don't do it for even a few days, I lose my ability to do it overall, and it's very frustrating. Basically what you wanna do is you wanna hold the cards in your dealer's hand, okay? So that's gonna be, if you're right-handed, you wanna hold them in your left hand, however you would deal cards. You're not gonna hold it in dealer's grip though, or mechanic's grip. You're gonna hold it like this, almost like you're carrying your book or your laptop or tablet under your arm. You wanna hold it like this, where your thumb is applying some pressure to the corner, and then the rest of your fingers are lined up on the side, okay? And the reason for that is because your index and your pinky are gonna be doing a lot of work, and these two fingers are gonna need to shoot out and be flat out of the way in order for you to get the card. Your thumb covering just the top corner, just barely, just enough to where you're not getting that, right? That's bad. Leave some pressure so that way the cards stay where they're at. And then what you're gonna do is use your pinky to pull off the top card. And then you're gonna drop these fingers out of the way. And then lastly, you're gonna shoot off with your index. And that's gonna send the card flying into your other hand. Now this is one of those things where if you do it fast, it looks better, but it is more difficult to catch, and it's more difficult to catch nicely. I'm one of those people that pretty much every time I do this move, it looks messy if I don't catch it right. So catching it is half the battle, but you definitely also want to practice catching it nicely. That was a bad example. So again, we've done our double. We go into the Silver Surfer. Now this is important, okay? After the card is in the middle, you are gonna need to readjust your grip from holding it like this to holding it like this. I do not recommend making a spectacle out of that. I recommend keeping that move silent and unknown, right? Almost invisible. You can do that with misdirection. So after you've slid the spectator's dummy card into the middle and you're ready to produce it, what I would recommend would be grab the cards, take them into your right hand, and just motion something to your spectator. Like, okay, so you remember your card, right? Then when you go to put the cards back, you can go into this grip and it's as if nothing ever happened. It's a good form of misdirection that will allow your spectator to stay in the moment with you, but without burning your hand and watching you mysteriously go from putting the card in the middle and then doing this, because this automatically looks like you're gonna do something funny. So you wanna kind of hide the motion. And what that would look like would be, okay, so this is your card. Can you remember this card? It's the 3 of hearts. Can you remember that? Perfect. I'm gonna take the 3 of hearts. I'm gonna go ahead and slide it into the middle. And again, you said your card was the 3 of hearts. Okay, perfect. See, and then I readjust my hand, and now I'm ready to produce the card into my right hand. Book grip, thumb putting some pressure there, index and the other fingers ready to just shoot out, and the pinky is gonna do the work by peeling off the card and kind of shooting into your hand, okay? It's really hard to do it slow, but essentially it's just peeling and releasing like that. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, we talked about a convincer for your strike double lift, which is allowing for a free movement. We've talked about a good distance for the Silver Surfer and how to execute it so you can catch it. And then we talked about some misdirection between that move and the top shot to allow you to readjust invisibly before catching the card. If you put those things together, that is pretty much the routine. It all does take a little bit of practice. I would highly recommend practicing the moves one at a time and then putting them together. It can be very frustrating if you get the first 2 moves, for example, out of the way, and then you mess up the top shot. So I would recommend first just get comfortable with the strike double or strike triple. Then get comfortable with your Silver Surfer, misdirection, and then get comfortable with the top shot. I should probably go practice, I guess. All right, now everybody has their own struggles with the top shot. So for me, the biggest problem that I face with it is getting it to be consistent where I can reliably just shoot a card out. A lot of times, this is something that if I don't practice it for a day, I lose the ability to do it. And that can be very frustrating. So this is one of those things where get good at it, get very good at it. And every once in a while, even after you've mastered it, just practice. Practice doing it until you can get that kind of consistency. Because even for me, with my hand being injured, I haven't practiced really anything, and that's one of the first moves to go, always. The end result is now you have a nice little 3 slight card trick that you can use. It's completely impromptu. The nice thing too is you can borrow a deck of cards and do that trick. So if you're at a party, you're at someone's house and they have even a clumpy old plastic coated deck of cards in their junk drawer, you can still pull that trick off and it's gonna look pretty cool every time. So that is that. I think my next tutorial is gonna be using the parlor playing cards. And per the Gentleman Wake's request, I think I'm gonna teach something using some of the reveals on the tuck box or within the deck. I might also use the coins and do a coin trick or teach you guys something with coins. So we'll see. It's all kind of up in the air. As well, and as promised, I am announcing the winners for the Oblique playing cards giveaway. That is this deck of cards right here. I just reviewed this on my channel maybe like a week ago, maybe a little bit more. And I mentioned in my last video that I would be announcing the winner in this video. So I have left that winner's name in the description below. So go check it out and see if it was you. If it is you, hit me up on Instagram, send me a message. I'll leave my Instagram information down below so I can get your contact details and all that stuff. So with all that being said, I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their day. I know I will. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.